Hello and welcome to this workflow demo series from Ordiginal, and this specific demo looking at billing code pop-ups within print submission. I'm Stephen Lockyer, and myself and my colleague Nick will be taking you through this demonstration. But before we do, a little bit about Ordiginal. We are an established European business-to-business distributor of software solutions and the associated services and hardware. We are focused on print, capture, document workflow automation, and speech recognition solutions and services. We have a broad portfolio of market-leading solutions and brands, and we benefit from being independent, privately owned, and having our own pre-sales implementation and technical support resources. The intent of this workflow demo series is to highlight and demonstrate specific software solutions and services, to explain the features and benefits that resellers can enable for their end customers, along with the issues and opportunities that can be addressed, to provide resellers with the information and confidence to open relevant discussions with their customers, and to ensure that resellers are aware of the solutions and professional services that are available to them from Ordiginal. So this particular demonstration is looking at billing code pop-ups within print submission. And a typical customer scenario or requirement might be that they have a need to enter specific billing codes before prints are released to correctly capture costs for recharging and billing purposes. They need to prevent misallocation of costs between accounts or projects, and that could be internal or customer based. They require single or two-tier billing codes, so a primary and a secondary, and that might be in terms of client or matter code billing in the legal sector. It could be customer or project code billing. It might be departmental and team code billing. They also need comprehensive reporting. Now, this workflow is going to show several things. We're going to show submitting a print from a standard Office application. We'll then see automated pop-ups where billing codes, security pins, and notes can be added, and some of that can be optional or mandatory. We'll be releasing the prints via either an embedded client or, in this case, a web kiosk. And we'll also discuss reporting options. Now, this type of functionality is important and beneficial to customers because it provides support for their business and activity models that are built around accurate recharging or billing. It enables customers to control, report, recharge and bill for individual projects and team activities within a larger structure. It means that we can apply security through the use of PIN codes, and that ensures the validity of data and therefore billing. We should reduce queries and speed up the process of cost recovery generally. And of course, all of this can support governance and compliance requirements. Before we pass to Nick to take us through the live demonstration, I want to walk you through the workflow at a fairly high level. And this is quite useful because not everything that happens is always visible, because some of it will happen in the mind of the server and it won't necessarily be something that you see on the screen. So we're going to start from the point of submitting our print, and we'll be doing that within a standard Office application. And then the next few boxes relate to the billing code pop-up that will appear on the screen in front of us. We will enter a primary code, so a tier 1 code, and we may be requested to enter a PIN code. So some of the billing accounting codes could be PIN protected to make sure that they're only used by authorized people. So we will enter the first code. We will then enter a second code, and this could be, as I said before, client and matter code, or department and team, customer and project. Tier 1, tier 2 codes. But again, we could enter a PIN code if requested here. And then finally, we can enter some additional notes, and these can be mandatory or optional. So within the billing code pop-up, we've entered our codes, we've entered our pins, we've entered our notes, and then we hit submit. And the job is passed to a secure release print queue, ready for the user to then go and release their job. On the job release function, we'll be using a web kiosk, so that'll be showing release via a web page, but equally we could be doing exactly the same thing through an embedded client on an MFD. So we will log in to authenticate ourselves as the appropriate user. We will select the jobs that we would like to release to print. If we haven't already entered the billing codes, We could do so at this stage. As I said, billing codes could be optional or they could be mandatory. If they were mandatory, we would have had to have entered them by now, but if they were optional, we could do it at this point. We will then release the job and it will go off and be printed as required, and then all of that activity will be uploaded into the database for reporting purposes. When it comes to the reporting, now this is going to be an admin function, not something that a general user would do, but the admin person would access the reporting tool and they'll have several options. They could run ad hoc reports whenever they desire, or they could set up a regular automated report that could be run and distributed on a set cadence. Those reports are distributed as required, probably by email, or they may be dropped into a folder. So the technology that you're going to see delivering this is the Control Suite platform from Kofax, and specifically a module within it called Output Manager. Kofax are one of the major brands that we work with at OurDigital. So hopefully that gives us a good view of what we're about to see and puts it into context. I'll now pass you over to Nick, who's going to take us through the live demonstration.
Thank you, Stephen, for that introduction. Hi, my name is Nick Pugh. I'm a pre-sales consultant with OurDigital, and I'm going to take you through some of the action side of what Stephen's talked about there with regard to billing codes. So we're going to start with a user experience. So there's a user using his desktop application. He's going to do a print. We're going to show as he prints that we can ask for a billing code via a desktop client. So that's what we're going to do. The desktop client itself can be installed silently. There's an MSI installer for it. So we've already now got the desktop client notification. So it's asking for billing accounts. These can be picked from list. So we've got currently enabled in the background, pick from list, or write in, or both. So if it's in the list, and you may want to not have the ability for users to add their own, but some customers would require the billing account is not in the billing list. We want someone to be able to create it by actually entering it at the time of submitting a job. So we're going to just stick with the more basic ones. They can be two level. We've used the examples of client and matter, but this could be primary and secondary, or division and project. You can actually change the wording here, but we're using two level billing accounts. So as we've gone into client one, you can see that this client has got a number of matters or secondary accounts. If we pick on a different one, client three, he's got different ones. I'll show you adding one in dynamically at the same time. We also have the ability to pin protect them, so that you can prevent unauthorized allocation of costs or allocation of billing account information. So for client two, you can see the box is now gone from a grey box to a black box. If I try to submit, well, let's just try ahead and let's just pick one of the ones there. Without putting a pin in, it's going to say you need to put a pin in. If I put the wrong pin in, it's telling me I put the wrong pin in. I do know the correct pin, it's 4 1s. So that's what we're going to just put in there now. And 1, 2, 4 there. So this job is going to belong to client 2, matter 2. We have the ability also, if it was required, to put additional comments in. We can take that box away if we don't want to show it at all. We can make it optional, which is currently how it is, or we can make it mandatory. It's just a useful area for adding any additional information in there as well. There are other options for the desktop client, so we could make, as you can see at the top here, we've got the box for job is billable. It may be that it's a free job, so therefore we can set the default value on that as is billable or isn't billable, or not even show it at all. So let's go ahead and do the submission on this one. And we'll show you what's happening on the back end of that. So we're now switching to Output Manager Console, so not the normal view that a user would see. So this is back office or IT. and that job has arrived. It's currently sitting in a print queue. It's actually sitting in a pending queue, waiting for secure release. We can just check and see. You can see that the information that we picked has been allocated. It is also possible to do split level billing, so you can have a job that belongs, that it will apportionate the costs equally across two clients. So one job might be, or for two projects either, it's project 2 and project 3. So that could be both selected, and it would subdivide the costs across them. So that's pretty much it for the showing you what the experience is like on the input side, the user side, so the desktop client popping up. I'm going to show you what that might look like if you were submitting a job via perhaps mobile or another point of entry that doesn't have the ability for a desktop client to pop up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do another print submission, and I'm not going to put any billing code information in this time. So just wait for the pop-up, and I'm going to take out, so actually before I do that I need to take the secondary before the primary. So this job will have no billing information. Now this, I'm doing this as just as a method to get a job in. Ignore the fact that the pop-up is there. Imagine that this has come in via email. I just needed a job in the Output Manager that didn't have any billing account information. What I'm going to do is show what that might look like at time of release. So this is the concept of, I don't have the ability to put the billing account information in when I submit the job, but I would like to put it in somewhere. And the only other place you might be able to do that is at time of release. Now, I don't have an embedded interface, MFD, that I can share easily on a screen with you, but I am going to show you the Output Manager web kiosk, which is a web release station. And I'm going to log in and authenticate, and you'll see both jobs that I'd submitted. So the first one was, this one here was with the billing code information. This one was without. I've actually set up Output Manager now to ask me for the billing code when I release the job. So I'm going to go ahead and release this job to my one of my printers that doesn't actually really print, but just going through a simulation process. And as I release that job now, you'll see that it's going to ask me for the billing code. So even though I'm showing you this in a web release station, this is exactly the same kind of behavior that you would see on the embedded interface of the device. It's probably better to ask you to enter the billing information on a job-by-job basis, which is how we've got it set up, because you might submit 7 jobs and therefore 7 different projects. So you need to put billing account information in for each one, and each one may be different. There is another option that you can ask for billing account information when you log in instead of when you release. That's useful if everything you're going to release, print, is for the same billing account. So we're going to go ahead and again, you'll see all of the same things that we had here, but this time let's do client 1, and this is matter 999. We even have the ability to create a new billing code on the fly. So we'll call this projector 1 is the project name, and we're going to hit release. And that job will now be allocated to that new secondary billing code that I created. You don't have to give users the ability to create their own billing codes. It's, sometimes it's a little bit dangerous doing that, in that they may create variants of the same one, capital B for Brookman's, small b with Brookman's, or they spelt Brookman's incorrectly, or whatever the billing code name may be. So a little bit of possibility for user duplication. So sometimes it's better to take away that option. So that job will have been printed. So if we just go to my printer, which was the fake printer, I can see the job that I've just literally released. If I just restore that job, then I'll be able to see which billing account was allocated to it. And you can see that's on the fly creation and adding of a new project code there. We do have the ability to do reporting and customize reporting on the primary and the secondary billing code. And those reports can be automated, so they're sent automatically for a particular time period to a particular person in a particular format. So PDF, CSV on a weekly basis for this billing account or whatever it may be. Of course, you could query the database directly using other tools such as Crystal Reports and create your own custom reports. That's pretty much all that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to hand back to Stephen now. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. So by way of a recap of what we've seen, we said that the typical customer scenario in relation to billing codes and pop-ups was likely to be that they needed to enter those codes to ensure they correctly captured costs for recharging and billing purposes. We needed to make sure misallocation wasn't a thing and that the right codes were used by the right people with the right approvals. We wanted single or two-tier billing, so that could be a client or a matter code or departmental and team codes, etc. And that was going to drive comprehensive reporting. So these were the common customer requirements. The workflow that Nick has just taken us through, we saw a print being submitted. We saw the automated pop-up where we were able to enter billing codes, security pins, notes, etc. We saw the job being released and we did it via a web kiosk. Could equally have been done by an embedded client on the device. And Nick took us through the various reporting options. And we said that this was important because it supported the customer's business activity or models in relation to their need to accurately bill or recover costs. It enabled customers to control, report, recharge for individual projects or team activities within a broader structure. We ensured that security was present and we could use codes, and that made the data valid, which helped us with the process. And obviously this then builds into our governance and compliance activities. Now, as always, there are additional things that we can do with these workflows that we've not necessarily shown today. So other functionality within the pop-up, for instance, we could have included a cost estimate of what that job would cost. And it is an estimate because it depends on the printer that you release it on as to the actual cost, but we could have included that. If we were tracking a user's balance, we could have shown the balance that that user had left to spend within the pop-up window as well. So help them to manage their expenditure and to think about whether they really do need to print the document that they were proposing to print. We could have also used some automation technology within Control Suite. So we could have extracted billing code information from within the document itself, either by reading something within the page or taking some data from the document title. Now, this could be useful if you're doing system printing. So there's a well-known issue with back-end systems where everything comes from SysPrint or SysManager, and recording the data and cross-charging for that is very difficult. Well, we could look at that file, look at the content of that file, and potentially pull something from it that allowed us to establish the billing code data. So there's always more that we can do, and with the Kofax Control Suite platform, there is probably an infinite number of different possibilities that we could bring to this. So I hope you found this useful and informative. If you would like more information, please take a look at our website, www.original.com, where you can also contact us. It just leaves me to thank you for your time and wish you a good day.